pork carnitas tacos, creamy dill chicken. Those are just some of the delicious meals you will get from HelloFresh. You can prepare in under 30 minutes without having to leave your home. Get ready to try America's #1 meal kit. Get 12 free meals, including free shipping when you use code INVEST12. That's HelloFresh.com/invest12. On today's show, Biden's new stimulus is coming. It's called the America's Family Plan, and it is a big one. We will go through all of the early details. He hasn't even announced it yet. That's going to happen Wednesday, but we've got all the early details on it. We're all turning to electric vehicles, and that means a spike in a certain kind of precious metal. How can you start investing in that right now? It might even be in your pocket, by the way. And in our CEO Spotlight, we've got a guest on the show who's disrupting the eyeglasses world with a huge upside. No brick and mortar stores. And going to turn the world upside down. We're going to have that interview on today's show. And that means Morning Invest starts right now. And good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Invest. I'm Clayton Morris. This is the morning business news show that helps you make money. We're live every morning right here at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Good to see all of you. David is off this morning. I hope you guys are having I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Grover was exhausted, running around like a chicken with his head cut off. That's not a good thing to say, is it? I think he was chasing a chicken at one point. So he is here. He's a little tired from a rowdy weekend of chasing the kids around the yard all weekend. But we have a lot of news to get to today, including, I'm going to tell you this, we've got a UFO story. You got to stick around to the end of today's show because this is amazing. From a private company experiencing a UFO. So we'll get to that. But let's check the markets. If you watched the channel yesterday, you know that I was concerned about Bitcoin and where things were going. Well, it looks like this morning Bitcoin recovering just a little bit. It was down to 40, 47, 49, 48, and we thought it would hit that 43, 45 area. So what we're seeing right now is a little bit of a bounce. I don't know that this is going to stick around. This could just be a temporary bounce back to 52 before it retraces below that 47 trend line. So just keep your eye on that. I had some emails last night from some of you that said, should I sell Bitcoin? Should I sell Bitcoin? I said, look, I personally am not selling any of my Bitcoin. I'm holding on to it right now because I see this, going over 100,000 by the end of the year. So you're going to have these retrace moments. Now, what about Ethereum this morning? Ethereum up strong, up 12%. See, so it looks like in some ways, Ethereum in some ways is starting to decouple itself from Bitcoin, which could be an interesting play. We'll keep our eye on what's happening here. Usually Ethereum and Bitcoin kind of move in tandem like a pair on a roller skating rink. This could be a little bit different. We're going to be talking about gold on today's show a little bit, but take a look at gold prices down. 1775 right now for a troy ounce, and silver also down. This could be the moment, folks, to jump into gold and silver and precious metals. We're going to have an expert on, Chris Vermeulen, who follows all of these technical patterns of gold on the show today. So we will have that and more. But let's start this morning with the stimulus, because this is going to be stimulus week. President Biden is going to be rolling out the new America's Family Plan. So this is what the White House is going to be dealing with this week, is this America's Family Plan. 1.8 trillion we're hearing. And it's big. It's ambitious. And as the Washington Post puts it, it's going to test the limits of the Biden presidency. So let's just go through this and some of the details. We don't have all of them just yet. But the White House is preparing to unveil a roughly $1.8 trillion spending and tax plan this week, which includes many of President Biden's campaign promises, including national child care, billions of dollars to national child care, pre-kindergarten, paid family leave as well, tuition-free college, community college, among other domestic priorities. It's going to be funded by about half a dozen different tax hikes on high-income Americans and investors. And this is going to, of course, be the big test right here. This is going to be the big test, which is, are they going to be able to get these big tax hikes through Congress? We're already hearing from a number of members of the House and the Senate on the Republican and, frankly, on some of the Democratic side as well, that they are not having any appetite for an increase in taxes, especially on the corporate level. But it's funny to see that because we know that they're not even paying those rates anyway. We can talk about raising it to 25, but these businesses aren't even paying it anyway. So what exactly are we really worried about here? Are we worried that they're actually going to start maybe paying some of these taxes? I mean, this is ridiculous. White House officials have spent the last week, much of the last week, trying to make refinements to the plan, showing some enormous pressure they're under to include or discard key items. In one last-minute change, according to the reports this morning, White House officials as of Friday were planning to include about $200 billion to extend an increase in health insurance subsidies through the Affordable Care Act exchanges, according to three people who spoke on this. So they're going to increase health insurance subsidies. That's a big deal. But also, they're also going to do this. I thought this stood out. White House officials are also prepared to table a measure they had included in earlier drafts aimed at reducing consumer and government spending on prescription drugs, a measure fiercely opposed by the pharmaceutical industry. If you ever need any more evidence that our politicians are bought and sold by big business, this line says it all. White House officials are also prepared to table a measure they had included in earlier drafts aimed at reducing consumer and government spending on prescription drugs, a measure fiercely opposed by the pharmaceutical industry. All of these subsidies, all of this money that we funnel to these pharmaceutical companies, of course they're upset about it. They don't want us doing that. Again, all of this stuff is preliminary. This is on top of the Build Back Better program, which is the American Infrastructure Plan. So two different huge pieces right now. The American Families Plan, it'll have free public college. I'm going to be paying a close attention to see if he included in this wipes away student loan debt as part of it. Because again, you've got to take care of both pieces of this, eliminating all student loan debt at the federal level, at the same time providing free college. So you have to do them both. Right? If you eliminate all that student loan debt and then you don't provide free public college, people are just going to continue this downward cycle of student loan debt. You've got to make that change. So this is going to be followed up this week. We're going to hear from him speaking at this joint session of Congress this week on Wednesday. It's going to be interesting to see how many people show up to this. There's a number of Republicans saying, well, I'm not going to go sit and listen to the president speak. It's not technically a State of the Union address. It's a joint session of Congress, and they're in a break right now. Of course, Congress is on a vacation. So for many of them, they'll have to fly back to Washington to go to this. And there are many Republicans that have said, well, I don't have any intention of going. I'm not going to fly back. Why would I want to go to this thing? So we will see how this unfolds this week. So that is the big stimulus news. We've also got some big news on electric vehicles. If you've been paying attention to, of course, the need for electric vehicles, and you've known our reporting here on the show about the number of charging stations that are going to unfold under President Biden's plan, it's going to be off the charts, right? They're going to be tens of thousands of new charging stations, carbon emission reductions across the country. Electric cars, folks, that's the future. That's what it's going to be. And, if you want to look at one of the biggest precious metals that's tied to all of this, and an area that maybe is an opportunity for you to jump into, it is the price of nickel. That's right. Nickel prices. Because of the demand right now for all of these electric vehicles, nickel, it could be the precious metal to keep your eye on this morning, up about almost 1% right now to 100. It's been up about almost 141 too. Look at this. So now you're going to start to see nickel prices going up and up and up as Biden's stimulus plan and infrastructure package starts to roll out. It's like copper. We just don't have enough of it, and we don't have enough people mining it. So keep your eye on nickel in this sector if you want to make some money and put some investing dollars to work. Well, this story won't surprise you. This story caught my eye overnight, and I just was, just shocked to see gambling going on here. How many of you watching right now have had some sort of an overdraft fee recently? Now, let me just tell you a little story. When I was growing up and I was I was not good with my money. I did not have financial education, which is the type of financial education we try to provide you here on the show. I did not have a good handle on my spending, and I had times where I had overdrafts. So much so that there was one time where I had overdrafts every day, and they're like $35 every day because I wasn't aware, I wasn't taking good care of my finances. Well, guess what? That's what happens to a lot of Americans. And now we have this story. Big banks charged billions in overdraft fees during the worst months of the pandemic. Are you shocked by this? Ripping people off once again during the worst phases of this pandemic. All these recent financial disclosures showing that overdrafts are lucrative for commercial banks and a burden on their most vulnerable customers. And here's the real key on all of this, folks, is that the big banks, you'd say, well, why don't you just eliminate, overdraft fees and make it so someone can't use their card when they get to zero balance? Makes sense, right? Hey, I don't have any money in my account, so guess what? I'm not going to actually spend that money anymore. I don't have any money to spend. It's zero balance, right? Well, guess what? No, because they make so much money off of you going into that debt. So they're not going to do it. It's a huge source of revenue for them. It's pretty sad. Last week, the country's largest banks announced their quarterly earnings. They crushed estimates and expectations nearly across the board. It marked another surprisingly profitable quarter in what's become a run since the coronavirus hit the U.S. over a year ago. Banks, to the surprise of nobody, have been among the first American institutions to recover and have done so dramatically. Millions of people lag behind. In the last 3 months of 2020, 12 of the 15 largest American banks, all of them with consumer-facing operations, reaped huge revenue just from slapping overdraft fees on needy and vulnerable Americans during the very worst of the pandemic. JP Morgan Chase, for example, made a stunning $1.5 billion in revenue on overdraft fees alone. Bank of America, we saw they exceeded earnings last week. Bank of America, $1.1 billion in profits. Wells Fargo. All of these big banks, taking in huge sums of money. They could have capped these overdraft fees. They certainly could have. Or had no fees at all during the pandemic. But this is my favorite quote. Banks could have capped overdraft fees for a certain number of months or had no fees during the pandemic, but they didn't want to give up $1 of overdraft revenue in any formal way. Yeah. It's a business as usual, as they said, now is returned to business as usual, where the large banks each took over $1 billion out of the checking accounts of people during the worst years in our history. It's a gobsmacking amount of money. And the overdraft is essentially a forced, high-cost payday loan. Yeah. See, that's the thing. When a bank customer overdraws their account, they can still pay for whatever put them in over the limit, but they're assessed an overdraft fee, typically around $35 for the privilege. End these overdraft fees, Congress. This is, again, ripping off Americans who are at the margins in this country and need help. This is insanity. This is absolutely insanity. We've got more news to get to in a moment, but I want to tell you about our show sponsor today. It's Sunday. Look, I grew up doing lawns. That was my summer job, okay? 60 lawns a day I would mow with the landscaping crew that I worked with. And one of the most common problems you'll find with lawn care is, brown spots, bare patches, you have things of clover, weeds, you have grubs, and you just don't know, frankly, what to buy for the season, right? What kind of fertilizer? And when you go to some of those big box stores, they literally don't know what they're talking about. They just want to get you in and out of there. They don't understand your lawn. And that's where Sunday comes in. I love these guys. You have to check them out. So what's amazing about Sunday, first of all, their website is awesome, right? Super classy and simple to use. What you do is you basically go to their website and you type in your address of your house, and they're going to give you a customized lawn analysis because they know exactly in your neighborhood the type of soil content and everything right in your town, right in your street, down to your house location. How much of your soil is silt? How much you have clay soil? They're going to know that. The guys at the big box store have no idea. And you'll get a personalized lawn care kit delivered and tailored right to you, right to your door. And the best part, one of my favorite things about them, besides just how awesome and easy the website is how amazing and non-toxic their chemicals are, which is fantastic. Yes, they use seaweed. So we actually use the seaweed on our trees because it's so powerful and non-toxic, things you can actually pronounce instead of random chemicals. They have weed control. If you're dealing with, you want seeds for your lawn, pest control, all of that. It's easy to use and amazing and delivered right to your door. I'm telling you, this is a disruptor. I love companies that just upend what we're so used to going to these big box stores. And, it's just amazing. I love when companies step in and say, We want to transform this industry, make it easy and non-toxic for your lawn. I'm going to tell you a story. We actually had a neighbor. We had a neighbor that they had a big, beautiful dog, and they put down fertilizer, and they love these dogs. We lived in New Jersey, and the dog passed away. And we said, they used to walk these two dogs. And we're like, Ron, where's your other dog? And he said, he got sick on the fertilizer and died, the toxic fertilizer. So they're like, we're never using this type of fertilizer ever again. We're never going to do it. So if they had Sunday, they wouldn't have this issue. That's right. If they had Sunday, they would have a non-toxic, beautiful lawn where a dog can play and no problem. So here's what I want you to do. Go to the website, Get Sunday, G-E-T. You have to use that G-E-T first. It's getsunday.com, okay? And when you're there, you have to go to getsunday.com/invest to get $20 off your custom lawn care plan at checkout. Again, it's $20 off your custom plan, getsunday.com/invest. Our thanks to Sunday for their support of the show. Well, if you've been watching my show for any length of time, you know we've been talking about the disruption that's been unfolding, certainly during this pandemic, and the primarily digitized commerce and online sales space right now just being totally disrupted. Very few industries are at their before Amazon.com moment, like right before they explode, before a company totally changes how people shop and makes its shareholders very wealthy. Well, our guest today has already disrupted an industry one time before. His company just did a fantastic Super Bowl ad a couple of months ago, which I loved. He helps to improve lives and support his community. Roger Hardy is the founder of the incredible kits.com, and he joins us today to talk about that and so much more. Roger, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Clayton. So nice to be here.
Well, I mentioned the disruptions. I mean, you think about what we're seeing over the past year, just at a high level. I'd love to get your take on what we're seeing right now from in this pandemic, trying to come out of this space right now. What are we seeing from your perspective? We've seen massive growth in online and digital sales. Is this going to become the new normal?
Yes, Clayton, I think that we have seen an incredible acceleration of all things digital. Really, the future has been pulled forward. If you look at the migration of retail, for example, to online, it's been a 10-year acceleration over the course of about 10 weeks in 2020. And so Kits is one of the companies that's really benefited from that migration from the old world, the way that consumers used to buy, to this new and easier and frankly more efficient way of buying direct. And so, yeah, I think that we're seeing that across so many different categories, and health tech, where we are, is clearly one that's going to be very interesting over the next 12, 24 months and beyond.
So let's talk a little bit about that retail space play. I mean, I think this is really interesting. I mean, I've talked to a number of different companies in the space where, not in your space specifically, but I mean, I'm talking telecommunications. I'm talking, banks, where just by giving up the brick and mortar, just by stepping back from the brick and mortar, they're able to do things that brick and mortar stores just are not able to do. So how do you see that, and how has it affected kits.com?
Yeah, sure. So I think a couple of things. Our business, we built it very strategically. When we're in our third year, targeting more than 100 million of revenue. We started out by thinking about what are the most accretive things that have happened in business over the last 20 years. One of them has been the move from transactional revenue to subscription revenue. So we base the core of our business around a subscription model. And the second thing is around really the vertical integration of businesses. So not just buying a third-party product and retailing it, but actually manufacturing it yourself and being able to pass on those savings to consumers. So we are not just a retailer, but we also manufacture. We're vertically integrated. We own the rails, if you will, of production, and that allows us to give customers not only a better experience, but we do it more cost effectively for customers. So those are kind of the trends I see: subscription creating value, vertical integration creating value, and taking great care of customers.
People have stayed home. I mean, they've been glued right now to their screens all day. What sort of health issues are occurring with sight and vision these days? I can imagine that having screens right up in front of you. We have to tell our kids, we have to tell my son, get off the screens, get off the screens. Or we tell him to put on his glasses because he has, he had an amblyopia when he was young. And so we did the eye training and the patching and all of those things. So what sorts of, pandemic related health issues have you guys seen?
Yeah, you're so right. I think we were all seeing it. We're all experiencing it with either in our families or with our kids. We're all on screens much more, and so the anything we can do to protect our eyes, now's the time to be doing it. Whether that's a UV coating or whether it's a blue light coating. Blue light protective glasses have become an incredibly interesting category and a very helpful category for families and people. So protecting our eyes from blue light, harmful blue light rays, that category is growing more than 700% year over year. It's one of the fastest growing parts of our business. And just intuitively similar to yourself, I've got an 8-year-old, he loves Roblox. I don't know about your kids,
yeah.
But if you can get him off Roblox, I wish that's what the blue light glasses did. But in the alternative, they do help him protect his eyes. And recently we got him some blue light glasses. He's been sleeping better. It just allows. Apparently, there's research that shows it allows some protection around brain functions, less activating to filter out those lights. So at night, we can give him the blue light lenses. And he's also found, and they protect his eyes from that activation. And it's also let him sleep better, and his friends find it quite stylish, actually. So, it's just one example of how this category is helping.
Talk about kits.com. Let's talk a little bit about the company and what can people expect when they start exploring kits.com. How'd you guys come up with this idea in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So previously I was in the eye care space and built a company from startup to sale for $500 million in cash a few years ago. And when we looked at categories, we still found this optical category very, very exciting. It's ripe for disruption. It's controlled by a very small number of players, and no one has really, cracked the code. We believe to really serving customers, cost effectively and with great value. And so that's what we set out to do. As I said, anchored on a subscription-based model, which also provides product that we manufacture. That way we can control high quality. We can do it very quickly. You order today by 5 p.m. We get it out today and it's on your doorstep tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So it's all about speed. It's all about selection. It's all about savings. It's all about convenience. All these sort of e-commerce models that you've heard, no one's really done it for eye care. And that's why Kits has been created. We saw the eye care category as being set up with a lot of brands that were built for a customer 50, 60, 70 years ago. I think something like a Lens Crafters, a Pearl Vision, these optical stores were built for a customer that was used to waiting, that was used to standing in line, that was used to being overcharged, no more. And that's where Kits really comes in. And I think that's why it's resonating. Like I said, the business is tracking to more than 100 million this year in our third year of operation, 73% growth in Q1 in terms of customers quarter over quarter. So that type of sequential growth tells us something we're doing is right, and we're excited about this opportunity.
When you take a look at your website, and I have it here on the screen, you look at, you ask the question right on the screen. You get your first pair of glasses for free, and you ask the question free. Like, how are you able to pull it off from a business perspective? How are you able to give people their first set of glasses for free?
It really tells you how disruptive we want to be to the category. We're so sure that if a customer tries us, they will stay with us for life, that we're willing to make that investment up front. And, frankly, we're modeling on the best companies in the world. Netflix gave us our first month free and we loved it. And so we all switched over to Netflix years and years ago. And that's kind of how we're thinking about it. We'll give you that first month free, but we know that once you try us, you'll be with us for the next 10, 20 years as a subscriber and as a user. So that's why we've been doing it. That's how we're able to do it, is we see customers coming back. And more importantly, they're telling their friends, their family about the offering. They're telling their friends and family to come to kits.com to get savings, convenience, and better quality glasses, frankly, than they can get at this price anywhere else on the planet. So that's what we're doing.
And it's great because when I look at for like my son, for instance, who loses his glasses all the time or has, ends up scratching them or we're trying to get him like in strategic locations because he's constantly misplacing them. So how much of a repeat customer are you seeing? I mean, how often would people be coming back to pick up that next pair of glasses or maybe a different version, maybe the blue or sunglasses or some other version just to give a different style?
Yeah, we are seeing once customers have tried us that we have a long lifetime value. Unfortunately, for people in eyeglasses, it's difficult to get out. So once you're a vision corrected customer, you tend to be in vision correction for the balance of your life. And so, we're seeing customers come try us and then come back as soon as 30 days, often somewhere around 60 and 90 days. They're buying that second pair for the car, that third pair for the cottage, that fourth pair, to have in their bedroom next to their bed, that fifth pair for in the den. We're seeing that type of annuity stream from a customer once we can secure that first order. We try to wow them with that experience, we give them a great experience, and we're seeing them come back very, very quickly. That's what's fueling the growth.
Nice. What about the shareholders? Let's talk about the people that put their money where their mouth is, so to speak, and put their money in the company. What are the majority shareholders, and do they believe in the company?
Sure. So we just did a recent IPO, as you may have mentioned. But the anchor shareholders are first off the founders. So the founders own 75% of the company. Four of us who started the business and have grown it. So we are absolutely aligned with shareholders in terms of creating long-term value. We're very excited about the category. Like I said, we think that we're right at the front end of where this health tech becomes the most exciting category in any business category. We can see dramatic, need in healthcare for better options for customers. So as shareholders, we're totally aligned and engaged 24/7 in building this company. And with our offering, we also had all institutional participation. So we had more than 60 institutions bid more than $300 million to participate in the IPO. And so it was a very well-backed institutional IPO. I think it gives us a great sort of strong foundation from which to go forward.
Let's talk about your share price here, because just looking at the ticker this morning, amazingly, your shares trade in the United States under the symbol. We have it here. We'll have it on the screen, which is KTYCF. And then your Canadian ticker is KITS, KITS. And the price right now is around $8. Yet two analysts have given your price target, looking at these different analyst notes, on $13 and $17. That is one huge opportunity right now for investors. Do you think your company value is worth that much? Do you think that that valuation is correct based on these comparisons and other metrics? What do you think?
Yeah, sure. I think, Clayton, it's early. There's no question that a company like ours is going to be growing over the next couple of years. And we don't really think about the share price today. But what we do think about is that we believe we're at the apex of where dispersion is going. So health tech, healthcare is going to be disrupted over the next 24, 36 months. We've got an exciting business that's fast growing, that's right at the center of what those type of businesses will need. And that's what we're trying to build. If I think about it, I kind of feel like we're where crypto was 3 years ago, or where cannabis was 3 years ago. We're before the real boom in this category. Frankly, our view is that the two most ripe categories are health tech and education for disruption. They're two of the ones that haven't been disrupted yet, where costs have skyrocketed and where customers are frankly getting less value from the existing model. So that's why we sit right in that space, and we just keep building a great business. And we think the share price definitely takes care of itself. So we love the fact that Canaccord and Roth have these targets on us, two impressive banks, I think, and I suspect we'll have more as time progresses.
Well, the product lineup is, sky's the limit. I think with blue screen lenses, sunglasses, the contacts. Unless people stop needing to see all of a sudden.
That's right. We try to keep it easy. People
right.
need to see. We're here for them.
Right. Well, check it out at kits.com. Fascinating stuff. And this is going to be our, subscription for our family, so we don't keep losing glasses all over the place. Roger, it's been great having you here on the show. Thanks so much for deep diving this and being a disruptor in this space. We appreciate you joining us.
What an absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks so much, Clayton. Have a great day.
You bet.
Take care.
All right. Thanks to Roger for joining us on the show today. Really appreciate that. I want to talk about gold prices right now. This is a sector that is about to explode. Let's check in on gold prices this morning because, again, down a little bit, 1,700. But there are many experts believe we're sitting right now at the tip of an iceberg where we're going to see an explosion in prices for gold, especially as the U.S. dollar continues to crumble. I mean, do you think for one second that the U.S. dollar and all of the printing that we're doing around the U.S. dollar can sustain itself right now? I don't know how anyone could think that. And neither does Christopher Mullen, who is a gold expert, and he's a technical trader, so he literally watches these chart patterns. He believes that we are sitting right now on a gold mine, and he sees prices going over 2,000. And he's not impatient about it. He's been waiting for this. This gold bull run could be coming. And right now, if it's sitting in that 1,700 range, I'm going to go big time into gold, putting my money into gold and silver and also crypto right now as the U.S. dollar is retreating. So here's what Christopher Mullen has to say about some of these patterns that he is seeing.
Yeah, I think it's tough to say. I think it'll be this year.
Running up to 2,000.
Depending if they get traction right now, they're just starting to turn around. If they can keep this momentum and we start to see them move higher, I think in 3 to 4 months, we could be up at that 2,000 mark, $30 plus silver. I think we're really close. We just need to get traction. And that's what we keep lacking in this sector is we get these nice rallies, people get excited, and then it just fizzles right back out. It gets sold off with heavy volume. Whoever's driving these prices down, I mean, eventually is going to run out of ammo, or hopefully anyway. But I think 2 or 3 months is or 3 to 4 months is the early possibility. But late this year, I think we should be hitting those levels and threatening a big breakout.
So over 2,000 by later this year. So again, when we look at gold prices this morning and you see where we're at, this is why this show helps you make money, folks. If you are wondering, if you have some money just sitting in a bank account right now, $5,000, $10,000, and you're not sure where to put it, gold is always a store of value. For 4,000 years it has been. And we use, if you go to morninginvest.com/gold, that's the site that we use to buy gold, actual gold. Morninginvest.com/gold. But Chris also thinks that if you look at this chart pattern, this is why I love Chris, because he's got really detailed charts and he's studying this breakout pattern. Look at this.
I think in terms of price range, I think we're going to be somewhere around that 1850, 1860 area. We're probably looking July. You can see the bottom of my cursor there. It says 726. So we're looking probably July kind of time frame at the earliest, maybe a little later going into the midsummer there. So I think there's still a lot of time for this big pattern. I mean, we're looking at a massive bull flag here in gold, and nothing, happens right away. It's got to mature. It's got to move this downward momentum to a sideways pattern, start to move higher, and then, it'll be off to the races. And that's when I think we're going to see, gold miners and things like that really explode and take off. And I think that the US dollar could actually break down from a multi-year kind of topping phase and have a huge collapse. And I think that's going to kind of coincide, I think, with the next major leg up in the precious metal sector.
So a collapse of the US dollar, July timeframe for this breaking out. I'm telling you now, it's almost May. So don't be kicking yourself later on this. I know I personally am going to be putting a lot of money into gold over the next few weeks. So because I'm seeing these patterns emerge, and I think these prices are going to just skyrocket. One final story on the show today I wanted to bring you. This story is amazing. SpaceX, we're learning now, a private company, of course, almost collided with a UFO. We're learning, according to NASA. NASA is revealing this morning that SpaceX Starship had a near miss with a UFO on its recent trip to this International Space Station. In fact, the 4 crew members were told that they were about to collide with an unknown object. They were told to prepare for, quote, a crash. This is the SpaceX mission we're talking about, to the space station. The 4 astronauts on board were told to put on their pressurized air suits in case of this collision that was about to happen. NASA team was informed of the possible conjunction by U.S. Space Command. The object being tracked is classified as unknown. The possibility came so close to the closest approach time that there wasn't time to compute and execute a debris avoidance maneuver, they said. So the SpaceX team elected to have the crew don their pressure suits out of an abundance of caution. And last week, we had the Pentagon confirming that that video of another UFO is real and accurate. I was talking with an investor the other day. We were saying, like, how is this not the biggest story in the world? I mean, we're in a pandemic right now. We have like mass shootings all of the time in the United States to take up all the headlines. But we're having the Pentagon revealing repeated UFO sightings and saying that they're accurate and true. I mean, the Pentagon Pentagon has notified NASA about the potential crash about 7 hours after spacecraft launched. So the Pentagon was telling NASA that there's a UFO and you better watch out. The Pentagon had notified NASA about the potential crash 7 hours after the launch. And our government is being truthful with us? Sure. That's the show, everyone. Be sure to subscribe to our daily morning newsletter. It's totally free. Go to morninginvest.com to grab the newsletter. It's totally free, delivered to your inbox first thing in the morning. David will be back tomorrow. We'll be back here. Grover will be back here. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Much love to all of you. Be kind to each other. This little puppy. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone.